Welcome to the Feria Techcast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today, we are joined by Meeky Hwang, the CEO and co-founder of Ndevr, a digital solution development agency that helps health and wellness brands build scalable, high-performing websites and digital platforms. With over 20 years of experience in web development, DevOps, and content infrastructure, she helps growth stage companies in health and wellness streamline workflows, align cross-functional teams, and scale platforms that supports millions of users. Mickey is also passionate about empowering women in tech and bridging the gap between technology and business. So, Mickey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I am excited to have you here. Quickly, let's dive in. Mickey, your journey spans over 20 years from deep technical web development to founding and leading a strategic agency. So, what was the pivotal moment that made you decide to move from building things with code to actually building a business?
No, we can call it a pivotal moment. I think I mentioned this in other places that it was more of an accidental. It's kind of flew naturally. So the way we co-founded Ndevr, I was already a developer and I was also doing a lot of this project management. I was leading the team from the previous agency that I was in. Boss's boss at the time, actually, he left the company before I did, and I was also considering leaving the company at the same time, but well, around that time, and he knew about it. So when I left the company, I had a little bit of gap before I wanted to decide on what next, and I was fortunate enough to do a freelance work with my older boss, and we were working together very well, and we've worked together beforehand too, but we knew that we will be working together very well as we see eye to eye on a lot of things. During that time, we just were kind of talking about why don't we start a company, and that's how it all started. So I wasn't having like a grand plan to I'm gonna co-found this company. It just happened naturally with some of the conversation I had with him while working together. And now fast forward to 10 years, it's a little over 10 years now. We
Wow.
started it. Yeah, we're working still working together, and then we're complementing each other very well. So it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, indeed. That was a fantastic story, dear Mickey. So let's talk about what you call the PE framework. So for our listeners who might be engineers or developers, can you walk us through a real-world example of how focusing on the audience, creator, and developer experience actually creates a better, more resilient platform?
Yeah, so three framework is the three core experiences that you need to make sure to have and working strongly, independently, and also well together to have a truly resilient platform. So as you mentioned before, the three experiences are audience experience, creator experience, and developer experience. So it's pretty much so audience experience is what you see on the front end. So anything performance, security, or like customer engagement, user activity, user engagement on your website is considered audience experience. You want to make sure that your site's fast and your site is also performing well. Also, it's engaging with the audience, your clients or customers. So in order to do that, you need to have creator supporting. So creator experience is the next one. Is a pretty much an editorial experience. So whoever's your marketing team or editorial team, whoever's putting the content out, you want to make sure the content is going out frequently and fast enough. And if you have any time sensitive items that you need to put out, you need to make sure those goes out fast and reliably to make sure that you are staying competitive in your industry and that your site is still up to date and stay competitive. But in order to do that, you also need a developer's help. So it's a developer experience. It's pretty much the engine room that handles all those. Like your website has to have a technical developer working well to make sure things are stable, secure, and items or the features and bug fixes are going out fast. So all those three experiences working really close to each other but also have to be very strong in order to have a truly resilient platform that's performing well, secure, and also competitive.
All right, that's really insightful. So you work with health and wellness brands that often handle sensitive user data and need rock solid reliability. So, Mickey, what's a specific technical or strategic challenge that's unique to scaling in this space that people might not think about?
So it's pretty much security. You need to make sure your data is secure, and then also that means that you need to be able to be ready for scaling up and down. So like if the site can't have like, let's say like you're not on the right hosting company, that your site is very fragile when you try to get like a higher traffic than some different times, like during some campaigns that you want to push out, or some if you're e-commerce, the result during the sales, if you can't handle those traffic, your site is fragile. So like the data, that means that it's not secure enough, that some data might be get exposed. Like you need to make sure that things are stable enough to scale back and forth, and also performance doesn't get affected when it there are changes like that. That comes with like everything is pretty interconnected. That like even data, even like some credentials, user information, and things like that can be exposed if your site isn't tight. If your site is vulnerable. It's it's not a patches that need to be in one section that needs to be strong. It's like you need to make sure the overall holistic view of your website is secure and strong enough to make sure that you're whatever you're hosting in there, like any data or any information that's very sensitive, or even like the assets that might be very owned by you or owned by something that is not really public. Those all need to be within the good wall of strong foundation.
All right. So, can you share a story of a time when improving the contact workflow for a team directly led to a better experience for the end users?
So content workflow, so editorial workflow, are you talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, so let's say, so I'll give you two examples. So one is like when you have a marketing campaign that's very time sensitive that you need to push out within a certain time, the content has to be created and published in the right amount of time, in the scheduled amount of time. If you don't have a workflow that's easy and fast for the editors to push out the content, then you can't actually you can't publish your content. So like that's one thing. So you need to make sure, and let's say for example that you our editor is always dependent on developer because like they can't update like simple things like font size or some font color or like even a little typo, then it's a bottleneck for them, and it's going to delay them to publish their content that are supposed to go out within a set time frame or set deadline. So those are important to make sure that your creator can publish your content, and also making sure that these days, contents are not just text. There are videos, there are ads, images, there are some interactions, there are interactive components to it. Those all should be able to be published so that you have better engagement with the end user, the audience experience. So that's why your content workflow has to be easy and straightforward for the creators or editors to actually push out so that you can one hit the deadline for any time sensitive campaigns, or if you're an e-commerce store that you wanted to publish your product before the sale happened, that those if you don't have the product, then you can't have your clients or customers buying your product. So that's content has to be published in a timely manner in order for you to run the business pretty much.
fantastic. So, you have built a successful agency in a notoriously male-dominated field. What's what's one piece of hard-earned advice you have for women in tech on advocating for themselves, their ideas, and their leadership?
I think so. Leadership can be in very different things. Like you can embrace, you need to embrace your personality. Because I was a
Yeah,
very quiet person, so like sometimes you don't think that that's a good leadership trait to be a quiet or more introvert. But sometimes it actually works well because you are a good listener. because you tend to be quieter, but you tend to listen to other people before you start speaking up. So that became my one of a good trait to be a good leader in any field, actually, not just in technology. And also, basic thing is that you need to have your skill set. So like always remember to make sure that your skill set is intact. So like you need to be constantly learning, constantly be curious about what's going on. So that's the main thing, regardless if you're in leadership or not, or any industry that you are in. So after you have that, like you also make sure don't be shy about your personality. Because like for me being a shy person and not very forward and not very vocal person in the beginning, that also I realized that that was my strong suit because I tend to be quiet, and then because I was quiet and only spoke when I had to speak, people actually gave more attention because of that. So some people might think that it's not a good trait for it, but you can make it your strength. So having that and realizing, reevaluating yourself, and always making sure that your skill set is
Mm.
there and like up to date with technology and then whatever you're learning, then I think it's a good foundation that you can build in the leadership.
Okay, that's a fantastic piece of advice, dear. So many of our listeners are technical professionals who sometimes struggle to communicate their ideas to non-technical decision makers. As someone who bridges that gap daily, what's your secret to translating complex tech concepts into compelling business strategy?
I think I try to explain it in more plain English. So don't assume that people will understand the technology terms or any acronyms. That's actually a big thing because I used to make fun of. So if there's any acronyms that are very specific to technology or even that very specific to industry, that might be very different meaning in different industry or different
Yeah,
field.
yeah.
So when I actually try to do that with some of the people that I was overseeing, that they when they try to use acronym too much, I will put like the ridiculous words with those letters just so that they understand. It's like that doesn't mean what you're talking about. So like you can't just
Hmm.
assume that other people can understand the acronyms that you're familiar with because they don't understand. But that doesn't mean they're not smart, or that doesn't mean they're not um, intelligent. It's just that you're not in that field. You're not gonna know. So don't assume any of the things that you speak of is resonating with the person. So try to speak it. Just explain it as like you're speaking to someone, um, or in like elementary school, or even to your grandmother. So like if you can explain it to them, then it means that other people can understand it too. So just don't assume. And then it's like sometimes it's very rude to assume that people will know what you're talking about, but just because you're specifically just throwing the random words that are very specific to your industry.
Okay, that was a great illustration about teaching your grammar. So,
Yeah.
Mickey, can you tell us about a time a project or client engagement hit a major snag, and how did you get through it? And what did that moment teach you about resilience?
I think transparency probably was the best way because there are things happen. There's some unforeseen issues may happen, or there might be something didn't work out as you actually planned out. There might be some
Hmm.
other components that cause that issue, but you just need to be very transparent about like this is what happened. This is how we're gonna fix it. Just always make sure that we present this resolution for how to fix it. So think about it and then like figure out how to fix it and then just present that. And a lot of times that people understand that people make mistakes and then like it's the work environment is also because it's a collection of people's work. So you need that they all understand there are things happen. There are always something that could happen potentially. So just being transparent about it and then to have a plan to fix it is always making it more resilient. And also you got a stronger relationship through the whole process with the team and then with the clients and with the whole people who are involved in the project. So I think that's it. Like being honest and being transparent and always have a plan to fix it.
All right. So, for a startup or a growing company listening right now, what is the most common and costly platform mistake you see them make early on? You see them make early on, on their development that make you wish you could stop them from doing.
I think it's well, so try to save in a place that save money on the place that you shouldn't be saving place money in place because like sometimes it actually costs a certain amount to build the secure and stable platform for the websites. I mean, if you're just, let's say, like, if you're not a business, you're just doing a blogging site, that it might be okay with just kind of trying to vibe coding or just buying like a simple web page with the cheapest managed hosting, or even not even the managed, like hosting company that you can come up with. But if you're a business and then you actually need to be getting the information of your customers, that there are sensitive information involved. So, like in that case, you need to invest money to make sure you're bulletproofing your website. So like sometimes it's not a good idea to just have a collection of different cheapest freelancer to build a site because sometimes they might not understand what needs to be done to make sure that you're putting the security gate in front of your site to make sure that your sensitive information is not exposed. And though when you're in business, you're serious about your website, then you need to invest some time and money to make sure you hire the right people, right team to actually build a resilient platform.
Okay. So, Mickey, your work involves aligning cross-functional teams. What does that process actually look like on the ground? And how do you get product design and development to stop working in silos and start rowing in the same direction?
A lot of communications. Sometimes you need to over communicate, especially in the beginning, until your team is actually comfortable working together. So especially
Hmm.
like it happens with everyone. Like if there's a new team member, if there's a good new team that you're working with, you need to get used to each other. So there's like you always have to have a period that you're over communicating to make sure that you guys are all on the same page. And once you have that, it might be a little easier. The cadence of the meetings or cadence of check-ins might go a little less. At the same time, you still want to make sure that you're communicating exactly what's going on, and then like they understand the actual timeline wise, feature wise, what needs to be built, when it's gonna happen, what is the issues that you're having right now. So always being very openly communicating among the team is very, very important to be successful.
Okay, so looking at the next, say, for example, 5 years, what emerging technology or shift in user behavior do you think will fundamentally change how we think about digital platforms?
I think in a way, because yeah, I know it's very cliche to say that AI is there, but it is there. So you want to make sure that
Yeah.
you utilize it very well. So that doesn't mean that it's going to take over your job or anything. There might be certain tasks that will be replaced, but it doesn't mean that developers are obsolete, or it doesn't mean that like all these jobs will be obsolete because it's shifting to a little different way. Because like especially for like developers, like, I've tested vibe coding, I've tested a bunch of other things just to make sure I understand it, but it still needs a lot of overseeing. So you need to have an actual person overseeing to make sure even like vibe coding or the AI coding is actually correct because they tend to just build it. It might look okay in the front end, but if you look at the code base, it's a mess. Sometimes you actually still need somebody overseeing it and kind of have a second set of eyes, kind of making sure it's secure and it's not putting something on top of each other or bandage fixes over there. So because eventually it's going to actually affect the performance as well. So you want to make sure somebody's actually there to overlook it, like a senior person. Like it's like the senior engineer looking at the pull request review to make sure that the code you're pushing out is stable and secure and it's following the standards. Those still needs to be done with even with like the AI code, especially with the AI code actually. So there are things might be changing. Also, it's helping to kind of like expedite some of the prototyping or some of the easy work or some of the tedious work, a search and replace type of job, type of task. But that doesn't mean that it's going to replace forever. So you still need to have a good foundation or understanding of what's going on, which will be which will be a great asset to kind of make sure that you're still keeping in the industry.
Okay. So, as a CEO, your role has shifted from solving technical problems to leading people. So, what has been the most surprising lesson you've learned about leadership and building a strong company culture?
Problem or people I think I have read it somewhere or someone said it. People are the best and worst part of the company, like or the business, because they
Wow,
make you really
nice
happy
quote.
and they make you really struggle. And it's actually
Yeah.
very true. Like it's a constant thing that you actually run into different problems every day, and that's something that
Mm.
you thought you were very familiar with, and then like there's new things all the time. But they also
Yeah.
make the best out of everything too. So it's one of the most challenging things. I haven't really figured out what the best answer is, but it's also learning and then just fixing whatever I need to do to improve. It's probably the best thing I'm doing right now.
Interesting. So for the engineers and developers in our audience who have an entrepreneurial spark, what's one skill they should start developing today if they ever want to make the leap from tech lead to founder?
I think for the technical to founders. So I think you need to also. It's not just for the founders as a developer or as a
Okay.
lead. Think you always need to be curious, and you need to be
Mm,
curious about what's going on in the world and what's going on with the new technology, and then just experiment with it, and always open to learn and adapt to new things, because it's changing very fast all the time. But it's not just this time; it's always been. There's new things coming out, especially in the technology world. There's new language coming out. There's new platform coming out. There's new tools coming out. You need to be always be curious to and stay competitive, and that really would bring your skill set really great for as a developer and as a leader, and also eventually if you want to find a company, you still need to be very curious about what's going on. So I think it'd
yeah.
be a universal thing that you need to have to just progress and be successful.
Well, I couldn't agree more. So, Mickey, part of the theme of this podcast is centered around innovation. So, for that reason, I like to reserve one question for every guest that I have a conversation with on this podcast. So, tell us, what does the word innovation truly mean to you? And how does it relate to your work building systems that are both technically robust and strategically smart?
That's a really good question. Innovation. I think it's kind of similar to what I answered on your previous question. Innovation is being curious and be brave enough to explore different things or new
Hmm.
things. I feel like that's what encapsulates innovation, and that's like a needed skill for the success and be successful, be competitive in the industry, or leading the industry. I feel like.
Hmm. Wonderful, wonderful. That's a great one there. So, finally, for our listeners who wants to dive deeper and perhaps get some expert eyes on their own digital platform, so where can they go to, learn more about your work and the resources you offer, and just generally follow your strategy?
You can come to our website or follow me on LinkedIn. My name is like it's Meekyhwang. I do post on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn only. I don't do other social channels, so it's probably going to be the easiest to find me there. And then we started a podcast as well a few months ago called Boozy Browsing. So it's a YouTube at Boozy Browsing. We pretty much have a digital happy hour and audit different sites, and then we give actionable tips while we audit those sites. So it'll be a happy hour, the virtual happy hour you can join.
All right, Mickey. It's been a really great and insightful conversation with you, and I'm excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you. It was really fun.